Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It is so good to see such a beautiful crowd on a lovely northeastern Ohio sunny day. I am so honored to be with all of you today to take my oath of office to represent Ohio's 13th Congressional District for the 119th Congress. It has truly been an honor to serve and represent you in Congress, and I am grateful for a second term representing Ohio's 13th District, better known as the birthplace of champions. I'd like to start off by thanking everyone who has been a part of this program. Green Law Director Lisa Dean for serving as our Mistress of Ceremonies, the Green High School JRTC Color Guard, the Girl Scouts of Ohio, Miller South Chamber Choir, go Miller South, Summit County Executive Eileen Shapiro, Summit County Councilman Brandon Ford, Stark County Prosecutor Kyle Stone. The folks from Stark County actually do come up to Akron every once in a while. I'm so glad to see you. And of course to my church family, United Baptist Church, and my pastor Kevin G. Rushin and First Lady Savette Rushin. Thank you so much for your continued love and support. You will hear from Rabbi Josh Brown a little bit later, and of course to Judge Williams for administering the oath of office for a second time. Thank you for making today special and lending all of your time and your talents to this event. And I would also like to recognize and thank the elected officials that are here. The work that I get to do in Congress is a joint collaborative effort, and I would not be able to be as successful as I am without all of you. So for all the elected officials that are here, if you could please stand and be recognized. So remain standing, everyone, because I want to make sure that everyone here in the audience knows who to send their complaints to. Thank you again. And I certainly couldn't do this job without my family. Anyone who says they can do this work without the support of their family is simply not telling the truth. With all of the travel and the rapidly changing schedules, I can always count on them to be by my side always. And so to my husband, Kevin Boyce, thank you so much. Just in case you wondered, I do live in Akron. He is in Columbus. We make it work. Things just work. Maybe we'll talk about it later, but it works. He certainly bears a large brunt of the challenges, but I certainly am so grateful to have him by my side. And of course, to my parents, Vernon and Barbara Sykes, who have shown me throughout my childhood what it means to serve the community and to do it well. And they continue to show me what it means to be a good and dedicated public servant. Thank you, Mom and Dad. And of course, there are hosts of friends and loved ones, cousins, play cousins, people who have claimed me. And I always say this, you all are not paying on my student loans, and until you do, we will just be friends. But certainly last but not least, I would like to thank all of you, Ohio's 13th Congressional District. While other legislative bodies can appoint members, as we've just seen with the United States Senate and other local legislative bodies like state legislature and the council, the only way to become a member of the United States House of Representatives is going through the people. You must get the blessing and you must get the votes of your citizenry in your community. And the only way that me and any other person can become a member of Congress in the United States House of Representatives, let me be more clear, is because of people like you. And I want to thank you for putting your trust in me and electing me to serve you for a second time. I promise I will not let you down. When I started out with my first campaign, I made a promise to connect this community back to Congress and ensure that we were getting the attention and resources that we deserved, but often were not getting. And since then, we have assisted nearly 1,500 constituents with help with federal agencies. We've returned $4.5 million directly to citizens from Veterans Affairs, from Social Security underpayments, and even refunds from the IRS. Medicare beneficiaries have saved a combined $10.6 million in out-of-pocket costs. That was actually just in 2024. We've responded to 95,000 letters and emails. We've delivered close to $300 million in federal grants, including $50 million to Akron's Tech Hub, upgrades to Barberton Lake Anna, funds to replace the high-level bridge, the East Tusk streetscape in Canton, police cruisers for law enforcement agencies, workforce training programs at Stark State and the University of Akron. Although, Councilman Ford, we have not built a well, we have provided a lot of water infrastructure money to projects in North Canton, Canal Fulton, Hudson, Akron, Canton, New Franklin, and the village of Silver Lake. But wait, there's more. I've nominated dozens of students to the United States Military Service Academies. I've cast over 1,000 votes on behalf of Ohio's 13th District. We've hosted 17 town halls. I've introduced 20 pieces of legislation and had 2 bills signed into law by President Biden. The list of accomplishments are because we set out to make the constituents of Ohio's 13th Congressional District our first, second, and third priorities. My team and I are working on your behalf every day to make sure that we are working to lower costs, keep our communities safe, and ensure that everyone can live their American dream right here in Northeast Ohio. And let me take a quick moment to thank my staff who has helped me do this work. They're the ones running around here. Raise your hand if you're able, if you don't want to be seen. Also, if you have any complaints, you talk to them too. But even with all that I have mentioned, I just want you to know that we are just getting started, and there is plenty more work to do, and I look forward to getting it done on your behalf. But I know, and I am not naive, this next term will not be easy. But if there isn't anything that I haven't learned from this community, it is that nothing is given and everything is earned. And over the next 2 years, I will continue to prioritize the needs of this community and earn your respect and your trust. I often get the question, what is the most surprising thing about your job? What's a typical day like? Or is it what I expected? And since I've been elected, I have marveled at the history, the majesty, and the grandeur of our Capitol. And I have taken every moment to take in every experience. And I've learned a few interesting things along the way. For example, the House chamber is much smaller than it looks like on TV. And the Senate chamber is even smaller. The choreography of a presidential memorial service surpasses any ballet that I have ever performed. And I have learned that some states sent their presidential election documents by FedEx, and some hand-delivered them directly to the clerk at the Capitol. But walking through the Capitol is a wonderful learning experience, and every single detail from the ceiling to the floor tiles is purposeful and specific and has a very clear meaning. There are no coincidences in Congress. And I hope that you all, if you have not already, come visit us in DC, come see your office in the Longworth building, allow us to take you on a tour around the Capitol so you can understand what I'm saying, because the United States House of Representatives in the Capitol building is the beacon of democracy. It is the most consequential, the most important and powerful legislative body in this world. 2 years ago on Swearing-In Day in DC, we had a little extra time on our hands. You may recall we went through 15 rounds of voting before we could get a speaker and ultimately sworn in to serve our communities. And while sitting in chambers, we had a little bit of time to spend, and we're trying to figure out what to do. And I looked around, and the ceilings are beautiful. There's a lot of artwork. There's busts. There are inscriptions on the wall. And I started to wonder, what did all of these things mean? And would I ever figure out what all of them meant and what was their purpose? And one of those things that I became enamored with was our member pin. And so on Swearing-In Day, members, first thing in the morning, go pick up a package, and it includes an ID, a voting card, a license plate, some instructions on how to do things, and you have a member pin. It's just this one I have on here. And the pin is your access to the Capitol. It gets you around, and it identifies your seniority. And so when I was first elected, I was number 428. Now remember, there's 435 members of Congress. And everything runs on seniority. So I was 428, and now I'm 358. So I'm moving up in the world. But each pin is a little bit different from the previous Congress. And so the pin that we received was green and gold. Go Falcons. And it had many American symbols that were very clear that they meant something. It was very purposeful. And even the design of the pen, it was not a coincidence. And just as I said, there are no coincidences when it comes to Congress. And so it completely made me want to find and deep dive into the history of our nation and our country and why we do some of the things that we do. Now, I don't have enough time to go through all of the information that I've picked up along the way, but I would like to share a little bit about what I've learned about the Great Seal of the United States of America and how it will shape my work for the next 2 years and beyond. So, a little history lesson for you. After the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, the task of designing a seal for our country was top of mind. It was given to 3 of our founding fathers, yet they failed to come up with a design that Congress could approve. Sounds familiar? 2 other committees were given the task, but they also failed. And so 6 years later, in 1782, the Secretary of Congress, Charles Thomson, was tapped to deliver a design to Congress one that they could agree on and complete this 6-year unfinished business. So he compiled some elements from the 3 previous failed committees and presented it to Congress, and they approved it that same day. Maybe they were tired, I don't know, or maybe it was just a good pen or good seal. And it is what we know as the Great Seal of the United States to this day. And if you have your program, you can look at it on the back of it and come along with me on this journey. And so in his explanation of the seal, he stated these things. And his words are this: the escutcheon, which is a shield, I had to look it up, is composed of the chief and pale, the 2 most honorable ordinaries. The pieces represent the several states all joined in one solid compact attire, supporting a chief, which unites the whole and represents Congress. The motto alludes to this union. The pales and the arms are kept closely united by the chief, and the chief depends on that union, and the strength resulting from it for its support to denote the Confederacy of the United States of America and the preservation of their union through Congress. He goes on to say, the colors of the pales are those used in the flag of the United States of America. White signifies purity and innocence, red hardness and valor, and blue, the color of the chief, signifies vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The olive branch and arrows denote the power of peace and war, which is exclusively vested in Congress. The constellation denotes a new state taking its place and rank among sovereign powers. The escutcheon is borne on the breast of an American eagle without any other supporters to denote that the United States of America ought to rely on their own virtue. On the reverse, the pyramid signifies strength and duration. The eye over it and the motto alludes to the many signal interpositions of providence in the favor of the American cause. The date underneath is that of the Declaration of Independence, and the words under it signify the beginning of the new American era, which commences from that date. A common theme amongst the seal are the symbols of strength, freedom, justice, peace, and sovereignty, and also the number 13. Now, 13 is typically known as an unlucky number. Bad luck happens on the 13th, especially on a Friday. Many buildings don't have a 13th floor, and airplanes don't have a 13th row. But I've come to appreciate the number 13 because I represent the 13th Congressional District. And I was trying to come up with something other than that, but really it just truly is because I represent the 13th Congressional District. They typically tell you stay away from 13, am I right? But I'm an eternal optimist, and there is always something that we can look forward to. And the significance of the number 13 is clear throughout American history, including in the Great Seal of the United States of America. At the top of the seal, there are 13 stars and constellation that represents the original colonies being formed into one nation. The 13 pale stripes, the stripes in the shield that represent the original colonies, some red and some white. The bald eagle is holding in its left talon 13 olive branches with 13 olives to signify peace, and the right talon holds 13 arrows to signify the ability to wage war. The motto of the United States, E pluribus unum, translating out of many one, has, you guessed it, 13 letters. And moving on to the back, the unfinished pyramid has 13 steps. But it is unfinished because becoming a great country is not something that has already happened. It is something that we will continue to strive to be. So 13, it is powerful, it's symbolic, it's historic, and it just so happens to be the district that I get to represent and all of you get to live in. But I want to bring this all together and share some words from William Barton, one of the many people who tried his hand at designing the seal. He said, "The eagle displayed is the symbol of supreme power and authority and signifies Congress, and that the olive branch and arrows that its hold and its talons are the power of peace and war." The lapel pin that I'm wearing today, created to be worn by the 435 members of the 119th Congress, has that eagle discussed by Mr. Barton, and it signifies that Congress and its talents are the powers of peace and war. The dual message of these symbols of the Great Seal and in my member pin expressing the powers of Congress, the strong urge for peace and cooperation and diplomatic relationships, as well as bipartisanship. So much so that the eagle's head is focused to that side of peace and cooperation. Yet, there is the reality that conflict will arise and we must be ready. We are coming off of an election cycle where everyone seemed divided. No one could agree on anything and people retreated to their corners. This type of hyper-partisan politics has halted the progress of Congress, and the previous Congress was the least productive in modern history. In Ohio's 13th congressional district, we hold the distinction of having the closest presidential margin in any other congressional district in this nation, meaning that in this district, the national politics is as evenly divided as you can possibly get. So much so that the number of votes that split between the president-elect and Vice President Harris are probably half of the people sitting in this side of the sanctuary. This creates an interesting opportunity, but it is also a challenge of keeping together a community of people with many different ideas united as one. About half of this district is pleased with and applaud the results of the national election, and the other half is disappointed, afraid, and unsure of the path ahead. And in passing out tickets this week to the presidential inauguration, we saw jubilation and excitement, and other people asked, why would anyone ever want to go to that event? And I'm not going to stand here and pretend that this term will be easy and that there will not be challenges for this country, for this community, or for this country. But there will be opportunities. And just like the eagle on my pin, I come in peace, but I am prepared for battle. I have sought bipartisan solutions and cooperative work throughout my time in elected office, and I have been very successful. I have always looked for a way to work with anyone, anytime, anywhere, if they were about the business of the people of this district. But I have also been challenged professionally and personally, and have had to stand up against the abuses of power and extremism. And in those moments, I am ready for battle. The work that I plan to do, whether it is lowering costs, keeping our community safe, protecting our community, bringing jobs back to this area, protecting Social Security and Medicare, getting illegal drugs and guns off our street, ensuring access to high quality and affordable health care, increasing the housing supply, and building wealth, I say to you, and all who will listen, I come in peace with solutions and the desire for bipartisan cooperation. But if you stand in my way, if you attempt to harm my district, and keep me from progressing and benefiting my community, I am prepared to go to battle on behalf of and before the people who elected me to represent Ohio's 13th district. So I'll say it as I always do, with a smile. I come in peace, but I am prepared for battle. There have been 11,637 people elected to serve in the United States House of Representatives, and I am honored to be counted among them. But most importantly, I am honored and privileged to serve my hometown, my community, the birthplace of champions, Ohio's 13th Congressional District. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for spending your time with me, and may God bless the United States of America, and may God bless our troops. Thank you.